Good morning and welcome to TCA. Christian Weinig Holz-Her USA. 2021. 2020 is over. It's been quite a year. I'm this morning with two guys. Guests who you guys probably know if you've watched TCA before, Mr. Andy Turner, VP of Sales here at Weinig Holz-Her USA.
Good morning, Christian.
And also Mr. Brett Reed, President of Weinig Holz-Her North America. Good morning, Brett.
Good morning, Christian. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning.
Guys, thanks for joining me on this first TCA of 2021. Our social distancing this morning, and I am joined by these gentlemen on Zoom, and we just wanted to take some time to really kind of reflect on last year, but also look forward to this year because we are excited about 2021, but we are also excited about sharing some of the challenges and what those challenges from 2020. So guys, if you're watching online, we are live, so drop us a comment, join the conversation as we get started. Andy, let's start with you. First of all, and I know, like, on kind of an interview like this, right, Andy, that we want to talk about, okay, what are we most excited about for 2021? But let's first say, what are we most excited about saying goodbye to from 2020?
Oh, well, at some point, I hope to say goodbye to the mask. I don't. I have not acquired that taste or acquired a likeness for that. Also, in all seriousness, I hope to at some point say goodbye to uncertainty. You know, we've faced, it seems like so many times in 2020, just when we thought we had figured something out, something new happened, and it caused us to rethink everything that we thought we had figured out, and we had to back up, we had to pivot, and we had to try something new. So I'm excited to say goodbye to at some level. I know that we'll always have new challenges. There's always some uncertainty, but the uncertainties that we faced in 2021 or 2020, I hope to be done with that soon.
But, you know, saying goodbye to some things in 2020 means that we're changing for the good. What are you most excited about this coming year?
Well, to be honest, I'm most excited about getting back out on the road, getting into travel again. I mean, you know, I was mentioning to my wife the other day that this is the first year I haven't been to Germany about 5 times in the year, or 2020 wasn't. And, you know, I'm excited about going over to Germany, meeting the colleagues, networking with them. And I'm also excited about getting out and seeing our customers. Now, I was able to get out probably after April. You know, everything sort of locked down in March. And then things in our industry opened up a little bit, and we were able to see some customers and get some travel in. But I'm looking forward to getting out and seeing the customers again and meeting them and seeing what their challenges are and helping be a solution provider for them.
So I know that, like, one thing that I've thought about, Brett, is that, you know, I think a lot of anticipation came in the last month, maybe 2 months, about like the end of the year, 2020, starting fresh, starting new. I mean, I think that one thing that really hit home, at least for me, and not to be a downer about this, but one thing that really hit home a week or two ago was, okay, so just because we have a new calendar year, what's changed? Because I think that, you know, I think that symbolically we all are really excited for 2021 to start, but in real life, in our practical situation, you know, it's really a grind. It's just making these baby steps through the situation that we find ourselves in. I know that, you know, with COVID, vaccines are starting to be distributed, but sounds like it's going to be a slow, you know, kind of a slow ride to get that fully ramped up. So I think that our, you know, changing is going to take place, you know, not overnight, everything. What would you say, what would you anticipate changing, say, in Q1 of this year, going back to either something that we've done prior to the pandemic or just something new for 2021. But what can we expect here, really, in the near future?
Well, I think in Q1 in the start of 2021, you're right. I mean, basically, we're a sales and service organization. We live 31 days at a time, and we just continue to do that. And the next month changes, and we start at zero, and we continue on. But I think what I'm gonna see, and what I've started to see so far, and it's only 5 days in, is some optimism. I mean, I think that you're right. The virus is out there. It's slower than getting into arms than we all anticipated, but I think there's an optimism that everybody's looking at 2020 in the rearview mirror and taking a big sigh, and they're optimistic about what 21 will hold. We hope that it is as I read an article today, and Andy and I spoke about this in January last year, that this was going to be the Roaring 20s. And I read an article that after the pandemic is behind us, we may be into the Roaring 20s, because you got to remember that the Roaring 20s started after a bad time in the world with World War One. I think we can get to that point too. So I think it's optimism that I see in the building and out on the street and talking to different people. Some customers, they're optimistic, and it could just be that we turn that page on that calendar. But optimism is contagious, and more people have that, and I think more people will get that feeling and look at 21 with a fresh set of eyes and some optimism. It may take some time to get up to speed, but we'll get there for sure.
Andy, what about you? What do you see changing right off the gate here, or right out of the gate here in 2021?
So I don't see a lot different in Q1 from the second half of the year in 2020. But the difference that if in our industry we were more fortunate than than some industries in that our confidence was up in the second half of the year. And so I think that confidence, knowing our industry, we work with a variety of different sized companies, and the majority of them being small companies. And the small companies, while at the very beginning of the pandemic back in March and April, a lot of them had to shut down, and they were a little scared about what the next days looked like, the next weeks looked like. But once we got through the first half of the year, and we got into July and August and September, a lot of those small businesses, they were rolling because they had a lot of incoming business. The larger companies that we have, the mid-sized and large companies, they face different challenges because they had to get used to shutting the company down, disinfecting and reopening. But I feel like that into the second half of the year, they got a little more comfortable with that. They didn't like it, but they got much more efficient at that. And so while I would say that I don't expect a lot to be different in the first quarter of 2021 from what it was in the second half of 2020, that also actually generates a little bit of optimistic thought on my part, just because the second half of the year was much better for us because of the confidence that our industry had that we could make it through. I do feel that when we get into the second quarter, as we start getting closer to everyone being vaccinated, and things open back up, that's when we will start to feel those roaring 20s that Brett was mentioning. But I think that the first quarter is going to be very similar to what we've seen already.
Yeah, I think that's I think one thing that you said that I completely agree with is how we saw in kind of the last half of 2020 how different shops in our industry started handling basically a workforce that was partially remote, sometimes sick, getting tested. And this was all new to our industry. I think one of the things that we'll see right off the bat is companies actually becoming better at managing their workforce in this new environment. Because that's definitely a skill that none of us were really prepared to have coming into 2020. And we've all kind of had to learn how to manage a workforce that, like I said, is sometimes remote, sometimes on-site, sometimes in quarantine, sometimes getting tested. And having a workforce that's a bit more dynamic and a bit more in flux. I really see in the next month or two a lot of companies, especially in our industry, starting to wrap their minds around that, starting to put standards in place, starting to make it a more of a structured work atmosphere, even though it is in this new environment. So
yeah, I think a lot of them have already done it. Is the second half of the year they already started making creating these new structures, and they settled into that new normal, and so that's why I think that just that confidence, even though there's not, we don't have the vaccine. Brett was mentioning before, we don't have the vaccine in everyone's arm yet. We're working towards that, but there's a confidence in knowing that we can succeed in spite of this. So I think that a lot of those companies are going to, they've seen the success of 2020 and they're ready to see more success in 2021.
Yeah.
When you kind of, look back on the second half of 2020 and looking forward here short term, what would you say are some of the, I guess, the most impressive pivots that you've seen in our industry?
Was that for me? Sorry. The pivot, I mean, we've done it ourselves. I mean, the TCA was born of, getting out in front of our customers. We pivoted to more online demonstrations, those types of things. We've been able to contact or connect with our customers online and remotely, and it hasn't slowed us down. And I think us, along with our customers, have pivoted to technology pretty much, and understanding that they're not going to travel across the country just to see a demo in our room, in our demonstration room. We're going to do it online, and we've been successful with that as well. So from that standpoint, I think we've pivoted there. I think as you stated earlier, the HR departments and the dynamics of employees. You come in every day and you don't know who's going to show up or who's going to say that they have to go get tested and those types of things. So we've learned to be adaptive to employee challenges as well. And it also made us stronger and pivoted us to ensure that we had redundancy. We had to make sure that 2 and 3 and 4 people could do the same job, because we don't know who is not going to be able to come into work today.
So do you think that, some of these pivots kind of have to stay just because of the environment that we are in? I'm kind of curious on your take on this. Do you think that once we don't need some of these strategies and systems that we've put into place, that we just kind of, put them aside? Or do you think that these pivots that we're talking about, are they here to stay?
I think it's a pendulum. I think we've swung one way, and I think it's going to find a natural center. I think that, there are people that, enjoy the fact that they don't have to spend 3 days getting here from Seattle to do a demonstration. But by the same token, there are those people that want to take those 3 days to come here, particularly if it's in January, February, March, and a little warmer down here. But there are people that are still going to want to travel. And I think we're going to find that center point, that we will still do a lot of online things, but I also think that we will see a lot more people traveling. As I said earlier in this segment, I'm ready to get out on the road again.
Andy, what about you? What were some of your favorite pivots from the last year?
It's been a lot of fun for me to watch the different sized companies pivot and do different things, right? I mean, who would have thought? We have companies now that have reinvented themselves, that they're doing things now that 5 years ago they never would have thought. There's a company that Brett and I have been to see recently up in Pennsylvania, that they created a whole, essentially a social media studio, just to stage and take pictures and reach past their customer. Their customer are the big box stores, but they were able to reach past to their end users to show what their product could look like in their home, and then that would drive traffic to their customers to help them to buy to promote them or to motivate them to buy the product at their store. Some of that stuff has been amazing, but I also I think that the environment has promoted this thought that technology isn't necessarily bad, and also that not only is it not bad, but it's necessary. and by the technology that has been embraced to help us to become more efficient and successful in the year that was 2020, that also has promoted and fast forwarded what our industry has been doing with Industry 4.0 and IoT. And I think that's been a nice, for lack of a better term, a side effect is that not necessarily, the things that we're doing with IoT aren't any more or less important than they were before 2020. Excuse me. But the embrace of technology has fast forwarded that to where now it has sped up, and it's less. We're not just talking about it anymore. We're putting it into practice, and I think that's been really good, and it's been a result of some of the pivots that we've seen in our industry.
Yeah, I mean, I could not agree with you more on that. I have absolutely loved seeing companies, especially in our industry, right, embrace technology that had, and we've talked about this, the technology is probably, it was out there. It was out there before 2020. Sure, we developed all kinds of technology in the last year, but remote working and Zoom and that sort of stuff that we now use every day, well, that was out there. It was just we didn't yet embrace it. And 2020 kind of pushed us into that sphere of technology. And we could talk all day about the various pieces of software or hardware or programs that we've had to adopt and adapt to here at Weinig Holz-Her USA. It has been a pretty crazy tech ride here in the office, but I think for the most part one that we've all had a lot of fun with and have really embraced. So okay, so I want to get into maybe a little bit of the weeds, and Brett, I'm going to direct this at you. Specifically about the woodworking machinery industry, that what we're in and that what most of our viewers are interested in. What can they expect for 2021?
Well, I honestly believe that I think we are going to see more automation. I mean, people have just, it all swings back to, what I just mentioned a few minutes ago. The fact that, we all have HR challenges, we all have staffing challenges. And, a lot of that came to the fore when we realized, we had this pandemic and people couldn't show up for work, or people had to go get tested or work remotely and those types of things. So we need to be, and I think what the industry is going to see is more and more automation. If you can automate something, I think they're going to start doing that. And I think it's going to trickle down. Sure, the larger companies have always done that. The large multi-million-dollar multinational companies have embraced automation, but I think it's going to work its way down to some of the smaller shops, the 2, 3, 4-man shops that, they can't afford to have 2 guys off if they're a 4-man shop because, nothing gets done. So I think that's what we're going to see in 2021, a lot more interest in automation, automating processes and those types of things.
And Andy, what are you thinking about this, woodworking equipment industry? Where are we headed?
Well, I would agree with what Brett has said, but maybe expand on that. I think the automation now, for so long, our industry, we've talked about it, how they haven't had to be incredibly efficient to be successful, and so the labor force does a lot of things that maybe the labor force shouldn't have been doing, and there are things that people add to a product that the automation can't add. The value added things that people add to it, and so now I think that we will start to automate more of those non-value add processes, and move labor to the value add process, and it's going to make us more efficient overall, and with the same number of people, or in some cases, with fewer people, it'll be able to output more product and a better product.
So Brett, let's kind of close this out with what you're looking forward to the most in this coming year. In general, both here at the office and just in general. what is 2021 getting you excited about?
Well, I think it's getting me excited about the opportunity, the stability, and as I say, the travel and the I don't say return to normalcy, because normal is what you're used to, as Andy likes to say. Mm-hmm. And 21 has gotten us used to a bunch of different things, but I think I'm excited about stability and opportunities. I think that, as Andy said earlier, the second half of 2020 was strong, and I think that's going to continue to steamroll into 2021 and in 22 as well. I think we've got lots of opportunity, and I'm excited about what 21 is going to hold from an opportunity standpoint. And I just think that we just have to keep pushing and grab those opportunities when they're there.
Brett, to follow up on that, so I mean, you foresee the manufacturing state, at least here in the U.S., to continue to climb as it has been over the last 6 months? Do you think it's going to plateau a bit, or are we on a dip? What do you think? What does the crystal ball say over there?
No, my crystal ball is like everybody else, is a little hazy. But if I rub it in the right place, I think that we are going to see home building continue. I think that we are going to see consumer spending continue as people realize that maybe they don't need to take those trips, and they'll start spending stuff on their homes, which they've done in the last half of the year. They've started projects. There are a lot of people that I know that, for example, wanted to put a pool in. And because the pool business was so busy, they put that off till the spring. So, that's just going to keep rolling. So, that spend is going to roll into 2021. I think that as we saw, people want to get out of the 700 square foot apartments in the urban centers and get into some more space. So home building is going to increase. I also think that the housing market, the resale market, is very hot right now. And as people buy resale homes, they're going to do renovations. Renovations means, our customer in Pennsylvania, he's going to be selling more product through the big box stores. So I really firmly believe that this economy is going to keep rolling, driven by housing and consumer spending in renovations and that type of thing.
And Brett made mention of it, even from a consumer point of view, where people are, I guess you could say, shifting from maybe taking trips and going places and spending cash on more of a service-oriented industry to building products and projects around their house, renovations, and therefore boosting up that, our industry. Do you see that shift continuing?
Yeah, somewhat. I think people will start to travel again when they can. But I do think, just yesterday, as I was driving, I was leaving here and I was going to pick up my son at basketball practice. I noticed more areas or more large tracts of land that have been cleared, and they're starting to build houses. So, I mean, that certainly isn't slowing down. I think that the new trend, where we are here in Mooresville and where I live, just west of here, we're close enough to Charlotte to take advantage of the city, but we're far enough away that if anything ever happens like what happened March last year, where we started to have the lockdowns, we don't have to be cooped up in an apartment on the 40th floor, for example, right? So I think that trend of moving to more of a suburban area is going to continue for some time. I do think that the boom that we're going to see will plateau at some point, but if it plateaus and it's at a really high level, then that's not a terrible thing, right? So if we can put processes in place that we can consistently provide products to our customers, and that's not a bad thing either. So yeah, as far as the things that I'm most excited about in 2021, though, I think that we have some things professionally to be excited about, to embrace and to take advantage of, and to see a lot of things happen with the Roaring 20s. But I'm excited. Like right now, I can't go watch my son play basketball, so I'm excited to go to ball games. I'm excited to sit in stadiums. I'm excited to go to concerts. I'm excited to go to movies. I'm excited to return to that part of our normalcy. We've said it before. We are social beings. We like to be social, and when we're not social, that has other effects on us. So I'm excited to get back to being a little more social.
I'm also excited about, there's potentially on the calendar, there's 2 trade shows. We've got Las Vegas this year in our industry, and we've got Ligna coming up in September. So, we're excited about those types of things, getting back out and face to face with our customers, hopefully without a mask.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point that you bring up, Brett. There's, I think there's still a few unknowns in our industry, but right now the calendar says that we are on for Vegas and for Ligna, and that's exciting. So guys, listen, just to wrap it up, I got all the respect in the world for both of you. You guys, helped make 2020 just a complete success here at Weinig Holz-Her USA. Thanks for being on TCA this morning, guys.
No problem. Thank you, Christian, for all that you've done. I mean, 2020, we learned a lot. All of us learned a lot, and without your big push, without your understanding of new technology that we needed to use here, it wouldn't have been the same. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Christian. As Andy said, we wouldn't be here where we are and doing the demos that we do and doing the online stuff and the TCA and the presence that we have because of you and your interest in taking that on and your interest in the technologies. And it's a team effort. We all contribute something, and it's it's not just the 3 of us. It's everybody. It's the order processing, and it's all the technicians that are on the road, and it's the HR and everybody, the warehouse staff and the technicians and the demo rooms, and so it's been a big team effort, and I'm proud of what we've done in North America this year. And as I say, I'm excited about what 21 is going to hold.
Mm-hmm.
Again, really appreciate it. And everyone watching, thanks for watching this morning. We are excited also about bringing you guys TCA every week in 2021. It might look a little bit different as we go forward, but we are excited about bringing you our thoughts and insights about the woodworking industry. And what's going on here at Weinig Holz-Her USA. So as for us, we're out for this week. We'll see you next week, Tuesdays at 9 a.m. Join us on Facebook and YouTube. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook so you get notified when we go live. All right, everyone, thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time.